You're here right now because I told you that Brock Purdy got snubbed from this top 10 list. And first of all, you might be asking yourself, what list are we even talking about? We've seen lists thrown at us left and right, people ranking Brock Purdy as high as number 2 and all the way down into the 20s. So there's always going to be this varying opinion of where Brock Purdy ranks. So why is this particular list any more or less important? Well, it's because it's done by ESPN, where they pull executives, scouts, players, and everyone in between on the football side of things to then somehow determine these lists. And guess what? Spoiler alert for this video, Brock Purdy did not make the top 10. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the 10 who made it. We're going to go through the honorable mention list, which, hey, spoiler alert as well, Brock Purdy might be on. And then we're going to go over their reasoning of why Brock Purdy is not considered a top 10 quarterback, which is pretty interesting. I think a lot of 49er fans will feel, considering the success that Brock Purdy has had in such a short amount of time. But let's get into the list right now. We'll go 1 through 10, look at the honorable mentions, look at their reasoning, and react to it all right now. So, as I mentioned, the source is ESPN. They are looking at execs, scouts, coaches, things like that to be able to determine these lists. And so right at number 1, you see Patrick Mahomes. No one is going to complain with that. It is literally the unanimous number 1 quarterback in this league. Obviously, everything after that is up for debate. As you can see, Joe Burrow is number 2. Some people would push Joe Burrow further on down the list due to injury and availability. He hasn't been that available throughout his career. However, he has led his team to a Super Bowl, and he's a good quarterback. I was able to watch Joe Burrow versus the 49ers at Levi Stadium, and yeah, you can see he's a very talented guy. He's a good quarterback. Number 3, Josh Allen. Obviously, a lot of people like Josh Allen due to his frame, his size, his rocket arm, his legs, everything. He's kind of like the full package when it comes to almost a prototypical quarterback from a physical stature. He just hasn't had that level of success of being able to knock out that guy right there in Patrick Mahomes. But as we can continue to go down the list, you see Lamar Jackson at number 4. He's reigning MVP. Matthew Stafford, I'm very curious about how 49er fans feel about Matthew Stafford at number 5. Obviously, Stafford has a Super Bowl under his belt. I will say he's a bit underrated in the sense because he was on the Detroit Lions for so long and kind of just waffling in, their losing culture. Obviously, he goes to the Rams. They win a Super Bowl. But 49er fans know him very well and know that he is flawed and know that he will throw 1, 2, maybe 3 interceptions in a game. And that has seemingly been one of the reasons why the Rams have not been able to beat the 49ers in the regular season with Matthew Stafford at quarterback. Number 6 is Justin Herbert, obviously another prototypical type guy, just hasn't had success in the league. So I'm very curious to see where fans find there. Then, of course, you have rookie CJ Stroud cracking the list at number 7, who had a phenomenal rookie season. But again, what is this judged on? Is it based on team success, individual success, or individual evaluation? How do they come to determine this? Because from what we would consider success on a football field, I would say 2 come from behind wins in playoff games and, playing well in the Super Bowl might be consideration to be above a guy like CJ Stroud, even though CJ Stroud is insanely talented. Now, Aaron Rodgers, number 8. Aaron Rodgers did not play more than 4 snaps before suffering the Achilles injury last year. He finds himself at number 8, and I believe he's 40 years old. Listen, if you're going to go for like career, Aaron Rodgers is probably number 1 on this list, maybe number 2 behind Patrick Mahomes, just because Mahomes has more Super Bowls. But he's much higher in that standpoint. I have a hard time putting Aaron Rodgers in a top 10 list personally, just because he didn't play last year. So we have no idea if the shoe is finally dropped on Aaron Rodgers or not. So we'll see how it all plays out. And then you have Jared Goff, the guy that the 49ers, Brock Purdy had eliminated in the NFC Championship game. That one's a bit of a head scratcher, I think, for me. And then, of course, you've got number 10, Dak Prescott, which 49er fans are absolutely going to love. But as you continue on, here are the honorable mentions. There's Brock, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, and Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence. You know, I would say that, maybe Jordan Love deserves to be on the top 10. I would say Jalen Hurts deserves consideration. Um, Trevor Lawrence, I think he needs to do more. Kirk Cousins, Tua. But again, this is about Brock Purdy. This is about Brock Purdy getting snubbed. So let's listen to the rationale of an explanation into why Brock Purdy was snubbed. And you can see that here on ESPN. Again, Jeremy Fowler is the one who put this together. It goes on to say one of the best stories, Purdy, the last pick in the 2022 NFL draft, is 7-4 as a starter, a near Super Bowl winner and an MVP finalist. His play is incredibly efficient, with a league-leading 72.8 QBR in his first full year as a starter. He's already on the board with 4 playoff wins. All of this has put him into the fringe top 10 category. And this is a quote from an NFL executive. It's hard to call him a top 10 quarterback based on the guys ahead of him, but it's hard to keep him out of the top 10 too. He willed that team to the Super Bowl, only right to give him serious consideration. As far as game planning, Purdy has more limitations than some of the quarterbacks ahead of him, according to multiple evaluators. He's very good at navigating the pocket, buying time, using his legs. You're not going to win because of him in most cases, a separate NFC exec said. He's a really good system quarterback. I wonder who NFC exec, who's he work for? Reveal yourself. Are you an NFC West exec? Are you a little bitter? Um, you're not going to win because of him in most cases. No, just the 2 playoff games it took the 49ers to get to the Super Bowl. Don't mind that, and countless other games throughout the year that he again has played a major role in. So this is the thing that boggles my mind, is because Brock plays under Kyle Shanahan, because he has the weapons, people just omit that Brock Purdy has any responsibility for any of that, while in the same breath saying that the quarterback position is the hardest position in all of sport. The quarterback position is the most important position in football. And yet somehow Brock is just along for the ride. It's an amazing duality when it comes to the valuation of Brock. No one is going to ever sit here and tell you Brock Purdy is the most physically gifted quarterback. Like, we understand that. That's why he was Mr. Irrelevant for the most part. But I just feel like this is a continued on conversation of people just not really understanding how to properly quantify what a good quarterback is. Like, do we understand that the intangible elements of playing quarterback are just as important as the physical tools? Yes, being able to throw a rope 60 yards down the field is really impressive, and it's really cool. And being able to do it off your back foot with pressure in your face and dropping in the bucket's fantastic. But you know what also is cool? Being able to be ahead of the defense mentally to the point where you can throw with anticipation, because you know exactly where the defense is going to be and where your wide receiver is going to be. That is also very impressive, but he gets knocked for it. It's fascinating. So although Brock Purdy might not have the physical tools of CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow, That's just really where this kind of feels like this stacks up. That's how this feels like a lot of this ranking is based. It's based on physical attributes. And again, that's why the quarterback conversation when it comes to rankings is such a nuanced one, because it depends on who you talk to. Who values the intangible aspects of being a leader, of being a processor, of being elite in those like fundamentally needed categories to be a successful quarterback, and who kind of omits them and looks over them because Brock Purdy happens to be in a scheme that is able to exploit defenses, and he's able to exploit them as well. But again, if you watch the film, you can see that Brock is a huge part of exploiting defenses, holding linebackers and safeties with his eyes, doing a ton of manipulation, and having success because of it. And again, you can't say that you're not going to win because of him. You can't say that anymore. He's done it at the highest level in 2 playoff games. And when everything was on the line, he put his team in position to score as well in the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, it didn't go his way, and everything didn't bounce his way. But for being a 23-year-old at that specific time, I think he's done more than enough to solidify himself as a top 10 quarterback. But I will let you be the deciding factor of where you believe Brock Purdy should be ranked. And I want to hear from you and what you guys think in the comments below. Let me see your top 10 quarterback ranking. Let me know. You agree, disagree? You could be a Niner fan, not a Niner fan. It doesn't matter. I want to hear what you have to say in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.